Orla Comedy on LMFM.
Now, continuing our Thought Leaders series here on LMFM, we're joined today by Conn Murray, who has served as County Manager with Louth Local Authorities since 2007 and leaves the role this week to take up a new position as City and County Manager in Limerick. Conn, you're very welcome to the programme.
Thank you very much.
So you're leaving us, whether we like it or not?
I am. I'm on the way.
You're on the way.
A good 5 years here, so opportunities present itself, and therefore one must take opportunities as they come.
I have to ask you, Conn, you have been inundated with very fulsome praise by all of the mayor, the town, the council managers. All of these people have been singing your praises. Now, either you did something very right or they're glad to see the back of you. Which is it?
I suppose we'll always wait and see if they're glad to see the back of you, but it's been, as I said, a very good time here. We've had a number of opportunities presented to us. Louth was in a good place. I came into an organisation that is well structured, financially sound, and has been well led up to that point in time. And therefore it's the question of, well, what are the next few steps that are necessary? I suppose I've always had the view that Louth can play a very important part in the North East. It's as the counties go, with a population of 122,000, with the two largest towns in the country, it's a very strong place to begin with. Secondly, you actually control the corridor, which is traditionally regarded as Belfast-Dublin corridor, and we wanted to shift the thinking that was not the Dublin-Belfast, but simply the Eastern corridor, of which we were at the heart. And I suppose we start to shape our thinking in that direction from an economic perspective, and I suppose from an attitude perspective. And I think if you change attitudes in life, you can change an awful lot. And really I've concentrated on my time both from an organisational perspective, stakeholder perspective, and I suppose a positional perspective, concentrating on that issue.
I think, Conn, the very fact that we hear the North East Economic Corridor now used in terminology all the time, that in itself is an achievement. We've established that in people's mindsets, haven't we?
We have. It's now part of the vocabulary, and even from a statutory perspective, it's part of the planning at regional level. So we have it instilled in the minds. We no longer think of ourselves as simply a small county. We think of ourselves, I hope, as a county that influences the delivery within the North East. And we are, in many regards, as is any of our counties, too small to deliver on our own. We all need help, but we all need to work together in order to actually get some result out of it. That's been where we've come from. And hopefully that's the platform that will remain here for quite some time to come.
So we may be a very small county, but we're pivotal because of our positioning. By an accident of fortune, we're quite pivotal in that corridor.
We are pivotal because of the leadership that's been shown in the past, the strength of the two towns, the strength of the councils that have existed in here, and the strength of the people that operate within the county itself, both private and publicly. I think we're one of the largest producers of entrepreneurs in the country, if not on a wider basis. Do we know that? Do we take advantage of that?
That's an amazing statistic. I didn't know that, for example.
And so, therefore, why aren't we taking advantage of what we already have? And when, through the Economic Forum, which is probably the area that's been discussed quite a lot, it was a question of acknowledging that we add some of our parts, which is bringing Drogheda and Dundalk together effectively. It is bringing Newry and Mourne in as part of that strategic critical mass that's necessary to actually get the overall attention to the location itself, putting the right stakeholders in place and picking the right team. And I think picking Part1 to chair that was probably one of the better decisions over the last few years.
How did the Louth Economic Forum, how did that idea come about originally?
Well, again, when I arrived, there was a very strong Dundalk Economic Forum and there was a Drogheda Economic Forum. And I suppose what I looked for was, well, what are the stats on the county as a whole? And I found nothing actually existed. We didn't think of it as a county. We thought of it as, again, it's different parts.
The great Dundalk-Drogheda divide was in there, was it?
It's very real, real, and I suppose it always will be. But there's opportunities in bringing it together. We brought together through an Indicon report. I got a suite of studies done that gave me a perspective on where our strengths lay relative to it, and it was from that I would have pushed to have an overall economic perspective of the county. And as part of that, we would have re-examined the CDB structure, the County Development Board structure, to see have we got the right people in the right places. And from an economic perspective, you have to have those people who are genuinely engaged in that level of business. And that's what we did. We placed the experts where they were needed, where their expertise could be taken advantage of, and where they felt needed and they could deliver. So that was part of the thinking. The overall forum was formed approached Part1, having consulted with the two chambers of commerce, both Drogheda and Dundalk, and what I looked for was one voice. What I sought was one voice, and I think what we got eventually was a single voice.
So your vision was very much around putting all the pieces together and getting a bit of cohesion and getting a bit of directional thrust forward as a result of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, once you have an idea of where you want to get to, then you start looking at the components that are necessary there. We have an excellent local authority structure here in the county itself. We have excellent people in our own local authority structure. We have very good leadership in terms of political, and that's been demonstrated over a long time period. So how do you actually use those components and move forward? And as I said before, we probably have the most entrepreneurial county around in terms of the people who are willing to offer their services. And it's more reflected, if you like, on the voluntary side. I mean, the structure here from a Tidy Towns perspective, the 4 gold medals and the 3 gold medals that have been consistently achieved over the last 5-6 years don't happen by accident. And you don't get that in every county, but we do have it here. And from an environmental perspective, an economic perspective, and from a community perspective, we've tried to work on different arms.
I think it's fair to say, Conn, you've been a local authority lifer, and it's probably all of this experience. I think you worked in 9 different councils over the years, and it's probably all of that you brought to bear here, would you think?
Yeah, well, I think I've been lucky. I've been very fortunate with the people I've worked with, the type of managers that I've been, I suppose, moulded by. And I've seen so many different aspects of life, good, bad, and very difficult. And you do draw on that as you go forward. As you know, I started in Meath a long time ago and found myself almost getting close to it again. So it's there's another step now that's necessary.
And what other councils did you work in over the years?
I started in Meath. I went to Drogheda Borough Council, then to Tipperary Town, a small town council where I experienced a town clerk's job for the first time. Went to Cork City and had a great time there in terms of the type of large organisation. Went to Clonmel, where I experienced 3 floods in 18 months, which was the time period that we were in.
That was challenging.
It was indeed, yeah, very different. Then Limerick City beckoned in terms of both assistant town clerk and director, and my first shot at manager in Waterford City after that.